The twin suns of New Geneva Colony cast long shadows across Central Colony Park as 7-year-old Hanna adjusted her position in her sleek mobility chair. The chair hummed softly with advanced human medical technology, its silver frame gleaming. In the afternoon light, round her, children from various human colonies played on the futuristic playground equipment while their parents chatted nearby. Hanna's dark hair was carefully braided with small silver clips that matched her chair, a gift from her father who worked in the colony's research labs. She watched longingly as other children ran and played, their laughter echoing across the park. Her own smile was bright despite her circumstances, and she clapped excitedly when a group of kids performed impressive jumps on the gravity-adjusted trampolines. The park itself was a marvel of colonial engineering, with holographic butterflies fluttering between real flowers and gentle force fields keeping the play areas safe. In the distance, Hanna could see the massive dome that protected their colony from the harsh alien atmosphere outside. Sometimes she would spot the sleek human patrol ships flying overhead, their blue energy trails creating beautiful patterns. In the sky, she was quietly humming a song her mother taught her when heavy footsteps approached. Two colonial security officers in dark uniforms walked directly toward her, their faces stern and unwelcoming. Officer Blake, a tall man with cold, gray eyes, led the way while Officer Torres, shorter but equally intimidating, followed close behind. Both wore the standard-issue energy weapons and comm devices of colony security. "Hey, you," Officer Blake called out harshly, his voice cutting through the peaceful afternoon air like a blade. Several nearby families looked up with concern. "Where are your alien registration papers?" Hanna looked up at the towering officers with genuine confusion, her small hands gripping the armrests of her chair. "I'm human, sir. I live here with my parents in Sector 7. The officers exchanged glances, their suspicion evident. The park around them seemed to grow quieter as other families began to notice the confrontation. Unfolding. Officer Torres stepped closer, his boots crunching on the artificial grass. He sneered down at the little girl, his eyes fixed on her advanced mobility chair. "Don't lie to us, kid. That contraption you're sitting in looks like alien tech to me." "We've seen Zephyrian hover chairs before." Hanna's eyes widened with fear and confusion. Her chair was clearly marked with human medical certification symbols, and the gentle blue glow of its systems was distinctly human technology. "This isn't alien technology, sir. It's from the Colony Medical Center. Dr. Kim prescribed it for me." The little girl's hands trembled as she reached into a small compartment on her chair and pulled her colony identification card. The holographic display showed her photo, birth certificate, and medical information clearly indicating her human heritage and colony citizenship. "This is my identification," she said in a small voice. "I'm Hanna. I was born here in the colony hospital. My parents work for the research division." Officer Blake snatched the ID card from her trembling fingers and examined it with exaggerated skepticism. "Park, that's not a human name," he spat, tossing the card back at her. It fluttered to the ground beside her chair. "Real humans have names like Johnson or Smith. You don't belong in this area, alien." Round them, other park visitors began to stop their activities and stare. Some parents pulled their children closer, while others whispered among themselves. The holographic butterflies continued their peaceful dance, creating an eerie contrast to the growing tension. Hanna's low lip quivered as tears began to form in her dark eyes. "Please, sir, I'm not an alien. My daddy works on the research ships. My mommy teaches at the colony school. We're human just like you." Officer Torres laughed mockingly. "Sure you are, kid. And I suppose that fancy chair just appeared out of nowhere We know alien infiltration tactics when we see them. The officers moved closer, their shadows falling over the frightened child. Blake's hand moved to his communicator. We should call this in. Possible alien infiltrator posing as a disabled human child. Hannah began to cry harder, her small body shaking in her chair. The other children in the park had stopped playing, entirely now. Sensing something was very wrong, their parents stood frozen, unsure whether to intervene with colony security officers. "Please don't take me away," Hannah sobbed. "I just want to go home to my parents. I haven't done anything wrong." The two officers loomed over her like predators, their intentions becoming increasingly hostile. Blake reached toward her chair's control panel while Torres positioned himself to block any escape route. Though the little girl had nowhere to run, even if she could, what none of them realized was that their every word and action was being recorded and transmitted across the galaxy, where it would soon spark consequences far beyond anything they could imagine. Captain Lisa Min stood at the massive viewing window of Colonial Command Center, her office positioned strategically on the 15th floor of the administrative tower. The panoramic view gave her a perfect sightline to Central Colony Park below, where families enjoyed their afternoon under the protective energy dome. Multiple holographic displays floated round her desk, showing real-time data from patrol, ships, colony defenses, and security feeds throughout New Geneva. Her attention was focused on a particularly troubling scene unfolding in the park. The security monitoring system had automatically flagged unusual activity, and what she saw made her blood boil. Two of her own officers were harassing a small child in a mobility chair, their body language aggressive and threatening. "Computer, enhance audio feed from Park Security Camera 7, she commanded, her voice tight with controlled fury. The advanced AI system immediately complied, amplifying the conversation between Officers Blake and Torres and the frightened little girl. As Captain Lee listened to their cruel words and accusations, her jaw clenched so hard it ached. Her hands formed fists at her sides as she watched them tower over the defenseless child. "Those idiots," she muttered, activating her emergency response. "Protocol." Her fingers flew across the holographic command interface, dispatching a security team to the park while simultaneously opening disciplinary files on both officers. The captain had worked too hard building trust between the colony's diverse human population to let two bigoted fools destroy everything. Through her office window, she could see the sleek forms of human patrol ships gliding silently above the colony, their blue energy trails creating gentle arcs across the artificial sky. These ships represented humanity's growing presence in the galaxy. But incidents like this could jeopardize everything they had worked to achieve. High above the colony, invisible to human senses, Ambassador Ket's observation vessel drifted in perfect silence. The ship itself was a marvel of advanced alien engineering, its surface constantly shifting to match the surrounding space inside the crystalline command chamber. Keth stood before a massive display showing detailed scans of the colony below. The ambassador was unlike any creature humans had yet encountered. His tall, graceful form was covered in smooth, opalescent skin that shifted colors with his emotions currently. Those colors were trending toward the deep purples and blues that indicated concern and disappointment among his species. Four delicate arms operated the scanning equipment while his large, multifaceted eyes processed information at incredible speeds for 3 standard months. Keth had been conducting a comprehensive study of human society. His mission was crucial to the Galactic Council's upcoming vote on humanity's application for a membership in their ancient alliance. The Council represented over 200 intelligent species across the galaxy, and their decision would determine whether humans would join the galactic community or remain isolated on their scattered colony worlds. The advanced senses of his Shep could detect and record everything happening on the planet's surface, from electromagnetic signatures to emotional resonance patterns. What he was witnessing in the park below was exactly the kind of behavior that made many council members skeptical about humanity's readiness for galactic citizenship. Fascinating and disturbing. Keth whispered in his melodic alien language, his translator device rendering the words into perfect human speech for his records. Even among their own species, these humans show such division and cruelty. His ship's AI, an ancient quantum consciousness older than human civilization, spoke in harmonious tones. Ambassador, this incident represents a significant data point. For your report, should I flag it as evidence against human membership? Ket's skin colors shifted to thoughtful amber hues. Not yet, Ancient One. Let us observe how their society responds to this incident. A species is often better judged by their reaction to wrongdoing than by the wrongdoing itself. Meanwhile, across the colony in the Advanced Research Laboratory, Dr. Park Jin-ho was deep in concentration over his latest xenobiological samples. The brilliant scientist had spent the morning analyzing microscopic organisms from a newly discovered moon, his work potentially leading to breakthrough medical treatments for multiple species across the galaxy. His laboratory was a testament to human scientific achievement, filled with quantum microscopes, DNA sequences, and specimen containers from dozens of different worlds. Holographic molecular models rotated slowly in the air, while automated systems processed samples round the clock. Jin-ho had earned his reputation as one of humanity's finest researchers after developing the cure for the devastating Kepler plague that had threatened 3 colony worlds. The emergency alert came without warning, a harsh red light flashing across all his displays while his personal communicator chirped urgently. The message that appeared made his heart stop cold. Emergency alert. Family member in distress. Location: Central Colony Park. Threat level: moderate. Immediate response recommended. A live video feed opened showing his precious daughter Hanna, surrounded by 2 security officers, tears streaming down her face as they loomed over her threateningly. The audio came through clearly, and Jin-ho heard every cruel word they spoke to his little girl. The decorated war hero had faced alien predators, survived ship battles in the void of space, and stared down death itself during the colony wars. But nothing had ever filled him with such cold, focused rage as seeing his disabled daughter being terrorized by those sworn to protect her. Without hesitation, Dr. Park Jin-ho shut down his experiments, grabbed his emergency kit, and sprinted toward the laboratory exit. His research could wait. His daughter needed him now. The situation in Central Colony Park reached a dangerous tipping point as Officer Torres extended his rough hands toward Hanna's mobility chair. The advanced medical device hummed softly with life-supporting technology, its gentle blue glow indicating all systems were functioning normally to keep the little girl comfortable and mobile. "Get out of that alien device so we can inspect it," Torres demanded, his voice harsh and threatening. The other families in the park had backed away, creating a wide circle round the confrontation. Children clung to their parents' legs while adults whispered anxiously among themselves. Hanna's eyes went wide with terror. Her small hands gripped the armrests of her chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Please don't," she cried, her voice breaking with fear. "I can't walk without it. The doctors said I needed to move around." The mobility chair wasn't just a convenience for Hanna. It was her lifeline. The sophisticated human medical technology monitored her spinal condition constantly, adjusting support and stimulation to prevent further damage while allowing her to live a normal life. Without it, she would be completely helpless. But Torres either didn't understand or didn't care about the child's desperate pleas. His face twisted with disgust as he reached toward the chair's control panel. convinced he was dealing with dangerous alien infiltration equipment. "Don't touch that," Hanna screamed, trying to pull back from his reaching hands. Torres ignored her cries and grabbed her thin arm roughly, attempting to drag her from the chair. The moment his fingers closed round her small wrist, Hanna's scream of pain and terror pierced the afternoon air like a siren. The sound was so heart-wrenching that several park visitors gasped and stepped forward, their protective instincts overriding their fear of the security officers. "Let her go," shouted an elderly man who had been feeding the robotic ducks by the pond. "She's just a child." Blake spun around, his hand moving to his energy weapon. "Stay back, all of you. This is official colony security business." The situation was spiraling out of control. Hanna's terrified screams echoed across the park while Torres continued trying to forcibly remove her from her chair. The little girl's face was pale with pain and fear, tears streaming down her cheeks as she begged them to stop. That's when the thunderous roar of approaching engines filled the air. 3 sleek security hovercrafts descended from the sky like metallic angels, their blue emergency lights flashing and sirens wailing. The craft landed with precision on the park's designated emergency zones, their repulsor engines creating small whirlwinds of dust and leaves. "Freeze." The amplified voice boomed across the entire park with such authority that every person present, including Blake and Torres, instantly stopped what they were doing. "This is Captain Lee Somin of Colonial Security. Step away from that child immediately." The security team that emerged from the hovercrafts moved with military precision. Captain Lee Somin led the charge, her uniform crisp and her face set in an expression of barely controlled fury. Behind her came 6 elite security officers, their weapons drawn, out-pointed safely downward, their formation designed to surround and contain the situation quickly. Blake and Torres turned toward their approaching captain, startled and confused. They had never seen their commanding officer look so angry, her dark eyes blazing with righteous indignation round them. The other park visitors began to breathe sighs of relief as proper authority finally arrived. "Captain," Blake stammered, trying to maintain his composure while still gripping his weapon. "We're just removing this alien infiltrator from the park. We suspected." "You suspected what?" Captain Lee's voice cut through his excuse like a plasma blade. She strode forward with purpose, her boots clicking against the park's decorative stone pathways. "You suspected that a 7-year-old child in a medical mobility chair was somehow a threat to colony security." Torres, still standing uncomfortably close to the sobbing Hanna, tried to justify their actions. "Captain, the device she's using appears to be alien technology, and her name isn't properly human. We were conducting a routine security check when routine." Captain Lee's voice rose to a near shout that made both officers flinch. She gestured toward the terrified child, who was now curled up in her chair, shaking with fear and trauma. "You call terrorizing a disabled child routine?" The captain's elite security team had now completely surrounded Blake and Torres, their professional bearing making it clear that the 2 officers were no longer in control of the situation. The other park visitors watched in fascination as their colony's top security officer prepared to deliver what appeared to be a devastating revelation. Captain Lee Somin pointed directly at the frightened little girl in her mobility chair. "That alien you've been harassing is Hanna Park, daughter of Dr. Park Jin-ho, the man who saved 3 entire colony worlds from the Kepler plague. The same Dr. Park who received the Galactic Service Medal for his contributions to interspecies medical research." The blood drained from both officers' faces as the implications of her words hit them like a meteor impact. "And that alien technology you were so eager to inspect," the captain continued, her voice dripping with contempt, "is advanced human medical equipment designed by our own colonial medical center. It's keeping a brave little girl mobile and healthy so she can live a normal life despite her condition. Blake's weapon hand began to shake as he realized the magnitude of their mistake. Torres stepped back from Hanna's chair as if it had suddenly become radioactive. Both officers went pale as the full weight of their actions crashed down upon them. Dr. Park Jin-ho arrived at Central Colony Park just as the security teams were, placing energy restraints on officers Blake and Torres. His lungs burned from the desperate sprint across 3 colony sectors, but nothing could have prepared him for the sight that greeted him. His precious daughter Hanna sat trembling in her mobility chair, her face streaked with tears and her small body shaking from the traumatic ordeal. The park round them looked like a crime scene. Security hovercrafts had landed on the grassy areas, their blue emergency lights still flashing and casting eerie shadows across the playground equipment. Dozens of colony residents stood at a respectful distance, many of them recording the events. On their personal devices, the holographic butterflies that normally danced through the park had automatically shut down due to the security alert, leaving an strange stillness in the air. Abba, Hanna cried out the moment she spotted her father approaching through the crowd of security personnel. Her voice was hoarse from crying, but it carried all the relief and love a frightened child could express in a single word. Dr. Park Jin-ho pushed past the security cordon with the determination of a man who had faced down alien predators in deep space. Captain Lee Soo-min nodded to her officers, who immediately stepped aside to allow the renowned scientist access to his daughter. Jin-ho dropped to his knees beside Hanna's chair, his scientific mind automatically checking her for injuries while his father's heart broke at seeing her distress. "I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now," he said softly, his voice gentle as spring rain despite the volcano of rage building inside him. His hands carefully examined her mobility chair systems, noting with relief that the medical equipment was undamaged. The chair's diagnostic display showed elevated stress readings from Hanna's biometric sensors, but no physical harm had been done. Han dashed now through her small arms round her father's neck, sobbing into his shoulder. "They said I was an alien, Appa. They tried to take my chair away. They hurt my arm and said I didn't belong here." Jin-ho's jaw tightened as he held his daughter close, his eyes surveying the scene round them. He had faced down Kepler plague victims in their final stages, survived ship-to-ship combat during the colony wars, and stared into the eyes of hostile alien species during first contact missions. But nothing in his extensive experience had prepared him for the cold, controlled fury that now filled his veins. The 2 officers responsible for his daughter's trauma stood nearby in energy restraints, their faces pale, and their earlier arrogance completely deflated. Blake kept glancing nervously at Jin-ho, clearly recognizing the famous scientist and war hero from colony news broadcasts. Torres stared at the ground, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Captain Lee Soo-min approached the father and daughter with the careful respect one might show when entering a sacred temple. Her normally stern expression had softened with genuine remorse and professional embarrassment. Behind her, the elite security team maintained their positions, creating a protective barrier on the family. "Dr. Park," she began, her voice carrying the weight of command authority mixed with personal regret. "I apologize deeply for this incident. There are no words adequate to express how sorry I am that this happened to your daughter under my command." Jin-ho looked up at the captain, his scientist's mind already calculating the broader implications of what had occurred. This wasn't just an attack on his family. It was a potential disaster for humanity standing in the galaxy. Every move they made was being watched and judged by species far more advanced than themselves. "Captain Lee," he replied quietly, his voice carrying undertones that made nearby security officers unconsciously step back. "I appreciate your swift response, but I need to understand how 2 of your officers could mistake a 7-year-old human child for an alien infiltrator." The captain's face flushed with shame and anger. "Sir, These officers acted completely outside their training and authority. They will face full prosecution under both colonial law and galactic treaty regulations. I personally guarantee that justice will be served. Round them, the crowd of onlookers continued to grow as word spread through the colony's communication networks. Parents held their children closer, many of them looking at Hanna with no understanding and sympathy. The incident was already becoming a defining moment for their community. High above the planet's surface, invisible to human detection systems, Ambassador Keth's observation vessel continued its silent vigil. Inside the crystalline command chamber, the alien diplomat watched the unfolding drama with intense interest. His opalescent skin had shifted to deep crimson hues, colors that indicated profound concern. Among his species, Ancient One, Keth, addressed his ship's quantum AI consciousness, transmit the complete recording of this incident to the Galactic Council chambers immediately. Use priority diplomatic channels. The AI responded in harmonious tones that seemed to come from everywhere at once. Transmission initiated. Ambassador. The footage will reach the Council within standard time units. Shall I include your preliminary analysis? Keth's forearms moved gracefully across his control interfaces as he prepared his report. Yes, but mark it as preliminary only. This incident represents a critical data point for humanity's membership evaluation. But we must observe their complete response before making final judgments. The massive display screens round the ambassador showed real-time feeds from across the galaxy. In the great council chambers of Nexus Prime, representatives from over 200 intelligent species were gathering for the upcoming vote on humanity's application. The footage of officers Blake and Torres harassing little Hanna would spark intense debate among beings whose civilization spanned millions of years. Some council members, particularly the rigid hierarchists from the Andromeda sector, would see this as proof that humans were too primitive and divided for galactic membership. Others, like the compassionate healers from the Vega system, might argue that humanity's capacity for growth and justice was more important than their current flaws. Back on the colony surface, Dr. Park Jin-ho lifted his daughter from her mobility chair and held her close, her small arms wrapped tightly round his neck. The chair's systems automatically adjusted to maintain her medical support even while she was being held, a testament to human engineering and compassion. The consequences of this single afternoon in Central Colony Park would ripple across the galaxy, affecting not just the lives of everyone present, but potentially determining humanity's place among the stars for generations to come. The Galactic Council chambers on Nexus Prime stretched across several kilometers of crystalline architecture, a marvel of engineering that had taken 3 different species working together over centuries to complete. The massive amphitheater could hold representatives from over 200 worlds, each delegation seated in environmental pods suited to their specific atmospheric needs. Some breathed methane. Others required intense radiation, and a few existed as pure energy beings contained within quantum fields. At the center of this incredible gathering, holographic displays projected the recorded incident from New Geneva Colony for all to witness. The footage showed officers Blake and Torres harassing little Hanna Park in painful detail. Every cruel word and threatening gesture captured with perfect clarity by Ambassador Keth's advanced sensors. The reaction from the assembled delegates was immediate and intense. The insectoid hierarchy from Rigel Prime clicked their mandibles in disgust, their translator devices rendering their communications into standard galactic speech. "This confirms our position," declared Hive Mind Prime Zexitula. "Humans demonstrate primitive tribal behaviors that make them unsuitable for galactic citizenship." From the aquatic section, the whale-like cetaceans of Oceanus send subsonic harmonies through their water-filled chambers that translated as deep disappointment. Their eldest speaker, known as Deep Current, expressed their concerns through melodic tones, How can we trust a species that turns on its own weakest members? Their young suffer while their guardians become predators, the crystalline beings. From the Andromeda sector pulsed with harsh red light, their silicon-based consciousness calculating probability matrices. Statistical analysis indicates 73.2% likelihood of continued internal conflicts. Membership recommendation denied. But not all species were ready to condemn humanity entirely. The wise elders from Vega Prime, beings of pure thought who had achieved enlightenment eons ago, remained silent and observant. The plant-like gardeners from the forest world swayed gently, their photosynthetic processes allowing them to literally see the emotional energy patterns in the recorded footage. As the debate grew more heated, Ambassador Keth rose from his observation pod with graceful dignity. His opalescent skin shifted through calming blue and silver tones as he prepared to address the greatest gathering of intelligent life in the known galaxy. The chamber gradually fell silent as representatives turned their various sensory organs toward the respected diplomat on the delegates. Keth began, his melodic voice carrying clearly through the vast space. This recording indeed shows humanity's flaws with uncomfortable clarity. Yes, prejudice exists among them. Yes, some humans demonstrate primitive behaviors that divide rather than unite their species. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Several delegates seemed ready to call for an immediate vote to reject humanity's application, but Keth continued, raising one of his forearms for attention. I ask you to observe not just the darkness, but their response to that darkness. The holographic displays shifted to show Captain Lee Soo-min Swift. Intervention, her security team moving with precision to protect Hanna while arresting the offending officers. The footage captured the captain's genuine remorse and immediate promise of justice, her professional integrity shining through even in crisis. Next came Dr. Park Jin-ho's rival, showing the renowned scientist's careful restraint despite his obvious fury. Rather than seeking violent revenge, he focused entirely on comforting his traumatized daughter while working within the legal system for justice. Within hours of this incident, Keth explained as new footage began playing, the New Geneva colony implemented comprehensive reforms. Watch. The displays showed colony-wide assemblies where citizens gathered to discuss the incident openly. New legislation passed unanimously, creating stronger protections for disabled individuals and minorities. Training programs for security personnel were immediately overhauled, with Dr. Park Jin-ho himself volunteering to educate officers about diversity and inclusion. Then came the most powerful footage of all. Hanna Park, just 1 week later, back in Central Colony Park. But this time she wasn't alone or afraid. Children from dozens of different human ethnic backgrounds surrounded her mobility chair, laughing and playing together. The new diversity protection protocols were clearly visible. Security officers now patrolled in mixed teams, and holographic signs in multiple languages welcomed all human variants to the public spaces. Hanna's bright laughter rang out clearly through the council chamber's audio systems as she participated in a game with her new friends. Her mobility chair had been upgraded with fun additions, holographic streamers that trailed behind her as she moved, and a small speaker that played music for the other children to dance to. The little girl who had been terrorized by ignorance was now the center of joyful community celebration. The crystalline beings from Andromeda pulsed with confused patterns as their calculations were forced to recalibrate. The insectoid hierarchy stopped their clicking as they processed this unexpected data. Even the skeptical cetaceans fell silent in their aquatic chambers. Ambassador Keth's skin shifted to brilliant gold, the color of wisdom and truth among his people. Honored council, his species is not judged by the absence of darkness within them, but by how quickly they bring light to overcome the darkness. Humans do not claim to be perfect. They claimed to be capable of growth. The debate that followed lasted for 3 standard galactic days. Representatives argued passionately on both sides, citing precedents from thousands of civilizations that had sought council membership over the millennia. Some species had been rejected and later earned admission after proving their growth. Others had been accepted to early and caused galactic conflicts. When the final vote was called, the massive chamber fell completely silent except for the hum of life support systems maintaining 200 different atmospheric environments. Each delegation cast their decision through quantum-encrypted channels, their choices appearing as colored lights on the central display. The result was closer than any membership vote in council history. 127 votes in favor, 119 against. With 8 abstentions, humanity had earned their place among the stars by the narrowest possible margin. Back on New Geneva colony, the celebration was visible from orbit. Human ships throughout the system activated their running lights in synchronized patterns, creating a brilliant display against the starfield. For the first time in human history, their vessels would join the great galactic fleet, carrying crews trained in interspecies diplomacy and cooperation. In Central Colony Park, Hannah Park laughed with pure joy as her mobility chair carried her through a game of anti-grav tag with a dozen new friends. Above them, the first human ships prepared to depart for the fleet assembly point at Nexus Prime, their hulls bearing the newly granted council membership insignia. The little girl who had suffered prejudice and fear had become the symbol of humanity's greatest lesson, that protecting the vulnerable and learning from mistakes is the truest measure of civilization's worth. D&D.